Hello, hello, hello. Crafty Chris here again for another Scrap Your Scraps. I am pushing this through because I'm going to be heading to Mexico on Thursday. So I am doing this in advance so that you can have something to work on to get your Christmas cards ready. So today we're going to make a couple of three-dimensional Christmas cards. The first one we are going to use three red-green versions of a Christmas tree. So the Christmas trees are not realistic. They are created using pattern paper. And I think just from the fact that I have these, so I'm looking at my papers and I've got these three that I can play with. I can pop that out and put these three on the card. I'm just trying to see how I want to play with this. Or I could take that out altogether and put in a light red dot, which isn't very exciting. And the yellow sort of doesn't fit in at all. Okay, so these two are out. Get them out of the way. So I just have to decide, do I want to do that or that? I think I'll do this one. It just goes better. All right, so the idea is to create Christmas trees that are 2 inches at the base, not 2 inches at the base. So you have a 5.5 inch card. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4.5. No. 1, 2, 3. I think I'm going to do the bases at, I have to do the math in my brain here and that's not working well right now. I think I'm going to do them at 1 1/4 bases. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my little mini trimmer because I don't need a big trimmer. I have small paper today. And my bases are going to be 1 1/4, I think I said. Wow, that's way too small. So that's 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do it 1 1/2. And I'm going to need, of the same pattern, 1, 2, 3 of those. Okay. I'm scared to cut. Here we go. All right. So there's one. So this will make 2 pieces. And then I need another 1 1/2. And that'll make 2 pieces. And I'll just have some left over for something. So then the next thing I want to do is make the height. So it's 4 inches wide. Let me get a card here so I can really take a good look at what I'm doing. So my trees are going to be, let's say, 3 inches tall. Okay, so I'm going to cut 1, 2. This is a piece I'm going to put in my scraps. And 3. And another piece goes in my scraps, so there's 3 of those. And we'll do our angular cut all at once. So we're going to do 1 1/2 of this paper. That's 1. Excuse me. 1 1/2 of this paper. That's 2. That goes in scrap. And then I'm going to cheat a little bit and put in my 3 inch tall papers side by side. So there's 2. And then 1 more. That makes 3. Oh my goodness, I'm getting warm. It feels like it's summer out there and it's October. All right, and again, my last color. And 1.5 again. Okay. And then I'm just going to line these up and be sneaky. Do them both at once, because I can. Oh, I have the power to make that decision. There we go. There's 2. And 1 more. There's 3. And these guys go in my scraps, all that stuff. Or if I make another card, identical card, then I can use it for that. Okay. So now, 3/4 of an inch is half of 1.5 inches, and I am going to go to the back side of all these cards, and I'm going to point out the center point. So I'm going to get a ruler, and so I'm just going to go just at the tip. Oops, helps if the pen works. There's 1. There's 2. There's 3. And 1. 2. I want to try and be as accurate as I can be, because I have to fold these. 3. And then my last set. 1. 2. And 3. There we go. So I got the tips on all of my papers here. And now I'm going to cut the angles. But before I cut the angles, I think I want to actually do the embossing. Not embossing, scoring. Sorry, embossing just came into my head, but scoring is what I really meant to say. So before I cut, I'm going to do the scoring. It'll just be easier in the end. And I lost my beautiful bone folder, so now I'm using a weird plastic thing. So there's 1. 2. And I still recommend doing the points with a pen first, because the score pads tend to be sort of like a 1/16 of an inch wide, and you want to make sure that you're getting the actual center point when you're doing your cut. Okay, and I'm not putting a lot of pressure on my paper and the scoreboard because it's lightweight paper, so I don't want to go right through it. Okay, so now I get my chopper. Oops, I forgot some here. Not quite ready. Move that aside. Go back in here. I missed 3. There we go. There we go. All right. Now we're done. All right. So I'm going to go from my center point down to the bottom right corner, and then again from my center point down to the bottom left corner. And I'm just going to line it up. There we go. And line it up again. There we go. And then I'm going to fold it, since I already have the fold there. Okay, and sometimes it gets kind of weird up at the top. So I should have folded them before I did this. So fold them first. There we go. So before you cut them, you want to fold them all. So let's fold them all. Nice folds. Make sure they're all lined up. Just makes it easier when you're doing your cutting to make sure you're getting right in the center when you're folding up the middle. Just take me a minute. There we go. This red one is really sort of, I don't want to use my nail to fold it because it actually takes the surface off, which is not pretty. Alright, there we go. Whoop. Alright, these guys are actually kind of cool. I am going to keep these because together they make a Christmas tree. Whoops. So I'm going to keep these pieces for another project. Alrighty. So now I unfold it and I line up my points. There we go. Turn it around. Do the same at the other side. There we go. And because we already folded that one, it folds nicely. Not like this one that's giving me a hard time. Alright. So I'm just going to go through and do all of these. Okay, so I am back and I have my pieces all cut into their tree-like shape. And now we're going to glue these together to create sort of a pop-up-y type card. I'm going to use, pardon me, I love fall allergies. I'm going to use Dries Clear Art Glitter Glue because it dries clear and it dries quickly. And literally we are going to fold, this is the one that's causing me angst. We're going to fold them all so the pattern is in. Pardon me, now I'm all sniffy. Alrighty. I'm not going to worry about the tips just yet. When I get them all stuck together, I'll be more careful about the tips. Alright, so we need to have 3 different centers. So here's our one center, our second center, and our third center. And then we're going to rotate the either sides of our tree. So this is our center. We're going to have the poinsettias on the left and the holly on the right. And then here's the holly. If we were to follow a pattern, then we would have the poinsettias on the right of the holly, because if you go behind, there you are. And then this moves to one position over. Wait a minute. Okay, holly is now the center. That goes there. Okay, I don't know if that's right, but anyway. That goes like that. And then poinsettia is the center. And that goes there. And that goes there. Okay, this one is going to be my center because it has the my piece that goes in the middle of the card, because it has the darkest red in the beginning. Okay, and then the darkest red anchoring the outsides. So all we do is we make sure that our folds are nice and tight, and we try to get those little tips to be, we're going to cover them anyway, but I just want to get them as close as possible to being decent. Like this one is way off. So I just stick my fingernail in there and push until it behaves. There we go. All right. So the left side, I'm going to glue the right side, and I'm just going to sketchy glue it. I'm not going to worry about getting it super glued. And then the piece of holly goes attached to that. And we're lining it up so it attaches absolutely perfectly. Except for the tip, we know that's a bit of a problem. Okay, and then the right side again. Oops. Don't want to get it over glued, because if you have it over glued, it could end up closing on you. And you're going to line that up from bottom to tip. As close as you can. And so there is our first Christmas tree. Okay, so now we're going to do this one. So it's the right side. Let's make sure everything's kind of folded in a way that's going to help us. Okay. All right. So the right hand side, I'm going to glue again. And there we go. And then this right hand side, I'm going to glue. Again. Oops. Make sure you get it all lined up before it dries on you, because it does dry pretty quick. Tips I'm not as concerned about, but the body piece I am. Okay, and there is tree number 2. Okay, and we're just making sure these tips are all sort of more or less going in the right direction. There we go. On the right hand side. Does it have to be the right hand side? No, if you're a lefty you can make it the left hand side, but you just have to make sure you do them all the same. Whoops. Do not want it to stick that quickly. There we go. There we are. Then the right hand side again. There we go. Fold it all down. There we are. And there's our other Christmas tree. So there are our 3 Christmas trees. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of pen work after I get this glued down. And I also want to add ribbon. So because there's a lot of red in this, I am going to choose my green thin ribbon to use as, I'll move this all over here, to use as my, I'm just getting my pin back in my glue so it doesn't dry, to use as my bow. And it's a little bit of a big roll. I'm just going to take it out because it's too tight. It doesn't roll well. So I'm going to do my bows first. So how I do my bow is I loop around one finger so that it's open like that, loop around another finger, then I pinch those loops and I just tie one knot, and hopefully it doesn't go all the way through like this one did, but let's see if I can save it. Come on. There you go. Okay. So the idea is to have little bows for the top of the Christmas tree, but you don't want them too big. So if this is our centerpiece, we don't want the bow to be much bigger than what I have here. Okay, so I'm just going to tie that tight. Okay, that's one bow. So now I'm just going to trim that off, and I'm going to trim it. Do I want it going up? There we go. I'm trimming vertically. There we go. So there's my first bow for the first tree, and I'll pop it up a little bit when I get it done. And now I need to make a second one. So here we go, tucking it under. I don't know if I was on camera when I did the last one. Come on out of there. Yeah, there we go. So I'll do the third one on camera again. Tight, pulling it out, pulling it out. There we go. Gonna snip it up. There's two bows. And so what I did, I'll review again, is I just wrapped around my finger this way and my finger that way, so you can see that it's just wrapped around my fingers. It's not tied or twisted or anything. Then I just pinch them and cross them and make a knot. This is the hardest part of the whole thing, just getting it crossed and knotted. Okay, and then I'm going to pull this to the size of the bow that I want to see, tie it a little bit tighter, and I will pop those so they're more rounded. And I don't really want this much ribbon, but I do want it on an angle. There we go. So there's my 3 ribbons. Okay. All right, and I do want to have them spaced out on my card. So I am looking for spacing here. So if I put my bow right there, that will definitely fit into the card. And that leaves me just under an inch. What happens if I move it up an inch? If I move it up an inch, I can still squeeze it on there. Perfect. So an inch from the bottom, and I'm doing this before I glue everything on because I really don't want to end up having oops, I just lost my focus. End up having to fight with my ruler and what's going on here. Now there's two ways to do lines. So let me just get my black marker so that I can show you this. Here we go. And I use a 0.5, so that's a kind of medium thickness, not too thick. And just on the edge, I'm going to measure 3/4 of an inch. Oh no, sorry. I'm going to measure 1/8 of an inch and just put a dot right at the edge. And then I'm going to measure 1/8 of an inch from the top of that inch line. Put a dot at the edge. So I have this space now on this side. Now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So 1/8 of an inch here and 1/8 of an inch in from my inch there. Okay, so there's my line. So there is the freehand way to do this. I'm just going to pull in my camera just a little bit tighter so you can see what I'm doing. Hopefully it will focus. There we go. So you can line up and draw your stitch lines using the ruler. I don't tend to do that because I find that sometimes the ink gets on the ruler and then when I move the ruler I get a smudge. So I prefer to do this by hand, and I don't look at the tip of my pen. I look at the line of the paper as I'm doing it. So I just try to eyeball the thickness all the way along, and I lift my hand up and move my card, so you don't have to think about this being you can't move things along as you get closer to the edge of the card. So, and now it's not perfectly straight, but it's hand stitched looking. Okay, and now I'm going to put my ruler here to help give me a visual, and I'm going to give myself 1/8 of an inch above my line, and I'm going to still watch that distance and see if I can keep everything sort of lined up. Okay, and there I have my hand stitch line across the top. Went a little wonky there, but you know what? I don't care because this is a handmade card. We have to remember that we have handmade cards. Okay, I'm just going to push down that edge there. All right, so in this little collection of stuff, paper that I had, it had this little, oh, let me raise up a bit again. There we go. It had cutouts. And so I'm going to put, let's see, sending you festive wishes. So basically, I'm just going to cut out, using my scissors. It's not a very long cut, so I can use small scissors. If the cut was longer, I would use my longer scissors. There we go. So this is what I'm going to be putting on there. But it's kind of light. I'm thinking I need to sort of, pop that up just a tad. So I am going to get a little piece of black. Oh, you know what? I'm going to get a little piece of dark green paper. Just happen to have it here. Why not use it? Is there anything that's exactly the size I need? Nope. Okay. Sorry, I'm dropping things all over the floor here. Again, too many projects on the go. Okay, so I have this little piece of paper, and I don't like the textured side, so I'm going to glue this down just with regular glue. I'm not going to worry about getting my what do you call it, my tape runner out. I'm just going to glue, and I'm only putting it in the center because the glue will push out on the sides. Okay, and because I want to save as much of this paper as I can, I'm going to line this up with just a little bit of a green outline, like a 32nd of an inch if you're looking at what it might be, and get my trimmer, which, oh, there it is. Get my trimmer out, and I am just going to, I'm going to try to do a little bit too much. I'm just trying to cut exactly what I need. I could have used actually my guillotine, that would, or not a guillotine, but a, there we go. It worked anyway. I just went a little bit too far there, but I've managed to save a fair amount of paper instead of cutting it all off. And then there is my framed saying, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I'm going to pop dot that as well. So I happen to have this just sitting there, and it's foam tape, so I'm just going to use that since it's right there waiting for me. Alright, and now I'm going to try to eyeball this. You can measure if you want. I'm not a big measurer. I just try to eyeball and see if it looks centered, and then I play around with it a little bit until I get it where I like it. Yep, that's going to work for me. Pushing it down. So far my base is ready, and now it's time to put on our Christmas trees. And our Christmas trees are going to go about 1/8 of an inch above. So the side that hasn't been glued, where the white part is, or the back side of the paper is, that's what I'm now going to glue. And again, just sketchy gluing. Just make sure I get something on the tips so they don't lift up. And I'm going to center that 1/8 of an inch from the bottom over where my sentiment is. And then I'm just going to press that down and pop that up. So there's my first Christmas tree. Now I'm going to center this in the remaining space on the left side, on the right side. Again, just doing sketchy glue, just making sure the corners have a little dot on them, making sure they're about centered within the card left to right and about 1/8 of an inch from my line. Now something is wrong here. Oh yes, I'm doing it that way because I wanted to have the red on the outside bookending. Okay, there we go. flattening that down, opening that up a little bit, and then my final one. Just a little bit on those corners so they don't lift up. Centering that again in the leftover space, about 1/8 from the line. There we go. Flattening that down. And there we have our Christmas trees. And now I'm just going to put a dab of glue at the top and open up the bow parts and push down and hold for a second on the center of the ribbon. There we go. Blob of glue. Pop up the bow parts. And put that down there. Oops. Once it's dry, I can turn it a little if I need to. Now I have a little bit of glue here, which is, I'm going to leave it until it dries, and then I'm going to take it off with a glue eraser. Oh, look, this guy didn't want to stay down at all. So we have to make sure that he's got some glue, and he's going to stay down. Hold that for a second. Good enough. And now put some glue on there. Alrighty. Okay. Make sure everything's pressed down. All right. And there's our Christmas card. Now what you put inside is up to you, but this is a nice simple little Christmas card that you can make multiples of with all your scraps. So that's it for me this week. Thank you for joining in, and I'm going to be making another video today so that you'll have one next week while I'm away as well. Okay? Bye for now.